What up, though, Lions fans? We are back, as always, with the Motor City Cats. We remain back at it. Came to give you stats, not static. Whatever you do, keep your Lions news pragmatic. Got some spicy meatballs to get into today. We got some juicy topics. We got Nick Wright running his mouth. He never stops. Same-ish, different day. He's always talking about the Detroit Lions, and whenever he's talking about the Detroit Lions, it's choppy. This is the same man that said that not only would the Chicago Bears win the division, not only would they represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, but they would also win it because Caleb Williams is just that good. This is what this man said when the Chicago Bears drafted Caleb Williams. He bought into all of the hype, all of the generational talent, and he's going to do it straight out of the gate as a rookie when we know it hasn't been done before. This is what this man said, and he's talking about the Lions. And you know he's scared. You know he's scared because he's talking about the Lions in terms of the threat to the Chiefs. But before we get into that, obviously we want to say what up, though, to the people in the chat. What up, though, K Press? What up, though, TaylorMade Media? TaylorMade Media says I'm frozen. Do I still appear to be frozen? Okay, we played 3 in the playoffs. The Super Bowl is part of the playoffs. It's the championship game. It's the playoffs. All right, so let's say what up, though, to all the people. There are other people rolling in, and I would just like to take a moment because what had happened was they done messed around and let your boy get a soundboard. They done messed around and let your boy get. So now there are some things that I have to share with you. The first thing I would like to share is this.
Forward down the field, a charging team that will not yield. And when the blue and silver wave, standing to the brave, rock, 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 go hard, win the game. With honor you will keep your fame. Down the field and gain a Lion victory. Go Lions! Fuck yeah, motherfucker!
All right. As you know, Forward Down the Field is the Detroit Lions fight song, and I have it now for whenever it needs to be deployed. I wish I would have had it for every Victory Monday, but we've got 2 more, or we should say 3 more, okay, because I'm over here listening to K Ain't Press. Listen, K Ain't Press, you said we have 2 more games to win. No, we have 3 more games to win in order to silence the haters. What is up, though, Motor City Maniac? You are here. Now, let's get to what Nick Wright had to say. No, I didn't hear, but we'll get to that. Tell me what he said. The Bears, because I'm sure that's funny. The Bears GM Ryan Poles apparently has addressed Lions fans taking over the stadiums. Look, man, a lot of people have been talking choppy, and this is just pretty much what we're getting into. People don't like the fact that the Lions are good, and it's not just that they don't like the fact that the Lions are good. They're melting down. They have no idea what to do. It is as if it was a catastrophic world event that took place. They don't know how to handle it. They just don't know how to handle it, and it's wild to me. It's wild to me. All the pundits and everyone is tripping over each other and all these things. just to go and say something against a team. We haven't done anything to anybody. We've been a bad franchise for over 50 years. Okay? All we're doing is winning. And that's what every franchise wants to do. Yes, we have started winning, I guess, quicker than people thought. And last year we were a cute story and everybody was pinching cheeks and everybody was like, oh, look at those lovable losers. So then once we are no longer the lovable losers, well, we can't be lovable winners because nobody loves a winner except for that fan base. Look at no further than Nick Wright's favorite team in the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs weren't great, and no one was really paying attention to them. But then once they started winning, once they formed a quote-unquote dynasty, people hate Patrick Mahomes, people hate Andy Reid, people hate Travis Kelce. The Taylor Swift thing doesn't help. They hate the attention that they get. They hate the fact that they just keep winning and they're always winning. They hated the fact. Now, I didn't hate the fact. I acknowledged the fact that they were winning. It looked like in spite of their efforts to lose. But in reality, this is a 16-win team that we're talking about. Yes, obviously they were 15-2 because they laid down against the Broncos. And they got some hate for doing that. They got some hate for doing that, for laying down against the Broncos, and the Broncos putting up or they're not putting up any fight against the Broncos. It was 38-0. And people are, oh, you're ducking the Bengals. You don't want to see Joey B, Burrowhead. Listen, the road to the Super Bowl is not easy. Playing in a Super Bowl is not easy. Getting to a Super Bowl is not easy. Winning back-to-back Super Bowls is not easy. And winning 3 Super Bowls in a row has never been done. So if I can eliminate Joe Burrow, the only person that's actually come into my house and put me out of the playoffs, and I don't have to worry about seeing him, I still have to worry about Lamar. I still have to worry about Josh. Why do I want to worry about Joey B? Potentially. Tell yes. Feel free, Bo Nix. Go ahead and get into the playoffs. I don't see what the problem was. I really don't. I really don't see what the problem was. But, I get people are mad. People, just want to see the Chiefs lose, and I understand it. All right. So let me get to this article that explains what Nick Wright had to say. This is posted by Athlon Sports. Was written by Nick Meyer. So it says the Detroit Lions beat the Minnesota Vikings 31-9 on Sunday Night Football in a game that erased many questions surrounding Detroit's defense. The Lions held Vikings quarterback Sam Darnold to less than 50% completions on the night while pressuring him into key incompletions en route to the blowout victory in downtown Detroit. On Wednesday, longtime sports pundit Nick Wright, or Nick Wrong as I like to call him, shared his thoughts on the Lions defense. Wright said that he believes there is a glaring weak spot in the Lions approach that could burn them later in the playoffs against top-tier NFL quarterbacks, which could preclude them from winning the Super Bowl. I don't look at the Lions as the biggest threat to the Chiefs, Wright said, adding that he expected Detroit to lose to the Vikings. That's just disingenuous. You've seen us come back from 10 down to beat the Vikings. Even when we, had the late fumble down the stretch and it looked like that was probably going to do us in, and we still won that football game. And then you saw us come and apply BTA at our own house. So then if Minnesota gets through Los Angeles, which they caught the Honolulu Blue flu last time they played the Detroit Lions, and they went to LA and lost. Now they've played the Detroit Lions, got the BTA treatment, and they have to go to LA again, where they ultimately could lose. However, if they are able to beat LA, they have to come right back to Detroit. Do you think that Aaron Glenn, and I'll touch on this once I finish up with the article, but do you think that Aaron Glenn is simply going to deploy the exact same strategy? I mean, variations of it probably, but Aaron Glenn knows that they're going to be ready to see what they saw again. So, again, let's continue with this. He says, and listen, Terrion Arnold got hurt. That's another defensive injury. And I know folks saw how they played against Sam Darnold and said, well, what more do you want from them? I do not think that specific defensive approach will work against great quarterbacks, which is we're just sending the house. Man, we're just sending the house again and again and again. I'd like to see what Nick Wright had to say about Brian Flores' approach all year, because that literally was Brian Flores' approach to send the house and play zero coverage. Sometimes Brian Flores, he'll disguise it and he'll send people, drop people out of the blitz when it looks like he's bringing the pressure, and it'll come from other places and the blitzes are exotic. But Brian Flores' scheme is blitz heavy, pressure heavy, a lot of man coverage, 2-man coverage, cover 2, zero coverage. A lot of that mixed up together. Isn't that exactly what we did? Isn't that exactly what we did to the Minnesota Vikings? Did we not beat them at their own game? But hey, it's because it's the Lions. Moving along, he added that he doesn't think the Lions defense, especially with their rash of recent injuries, will hold up against top shelf quarterbacks using their approach of constantly blitzing like they did on Sunday night. Historically speaking, great quarterbacks love being blitzed. Wright said, now Detroit's in a unique spot where they could make the Super Bowl and never have to play a great quarterback, because the NFC only has one, in my opinion, and that's Matt Stafford. But in the Super Bowl, I don't think that will work against Patrick Mahomes. I also don't think that would work against Josh Allen. So many contradictory things here. Great quarterbacks love being blitzed. Matthew Stafford, if you want to call him a great quarterback, you can. I would say that you're wrong. Matthew Stafford doesn't love being blitzed. Matthew Stafford was getting the ball out of his hands in 1.3 seconds when he played against the Detroit Lions. And we weren't even blitzing. Right? He didn't want no parts of pressure. Jared Goff is the best quarterback that the Detroit Lions have ever had against the blitz. Guess who the Detroit Lions used to employ at quarterback? Matthew freaking Stafford. Jared Goff loves to be blitzed. Jared Goff loves so much to be blitzed by Brian Flores especially, that Brian Flores came out and said, I'm not blitzing this dude. Now, he eventually started mixing in pressures and things of this nature, but the first couple of drives, they were playing coverage. They were trying to be stout against the run, but you did not see the pressure. Right? As the game wore on, I guess Brian Flores was trying to be sneaky about it, mixing in pressure here and there, hoping that we forgot about his pressure defense and he was going to catch us off guard with the pressure. Well, if that's what you have and that's your fastball and that's your go-to pitch, when someone has adapted to your go-to pitch, you got to find other ways to get to it. You can't just keep spamming the fastball the entire game. Which is why, again, I say this about these national media people. They do not watch the games. They do not watch the teams that they cover. I was listening to Big D Energy earlier, and Neil Rule said something, and it resonated with me. He said he knows what they like to do in the national media or in sports media as a whole. They like to do what's easy. Right? They like to do what's easy. Nick Wright will do whatever he can to stay married to his takes. And it's pretty disingenuous for you, Nick Wright, to sit up there and flip-flop and waffle the way that you do. When you say something about the Lions and you're blatantly wrong, you come back saying that you think that they will win the Super Bowl. And then you watch them dismantle the Minnesota Vikings and you come back and say, well, they're not even a threat to the Chiefs because you can't do that against the Chiefs. What is it, Nick? Right? It's like you want to believe in this team. I feel like you do. Obviously, you're just doing things for attention because that's your job. But it's petty. You and Chris Broussard, like Kevin Wildes is the only one on that show, and I don't watch the show, right? But I see clips here and there. Kevin Wildes is the only one on that show that I've seen consistently give any amount of respect to the Detroit Lions. So what Neil Rule was saying was that they like to do what's easy. It's easy to say, oh, the Lions suck as a franchise. Because it's more difficult for you to examine the tenure of Dan Campbell. It's more difficult for you to do that. For you to understand how he started off 3-13-1 and how Sheila Ford Hamp, when he started off 1-6, came down and got booed. And Calvin Johnson was like, yo, chill. And she was like, nah, let him do it. Let him go. And she said, we're going to stick behind our guys. And then from that point on, we are what? Goddamn 40-6 at this point or something like that? From when she came down and said that. This is a team that started off 3-13-1, started off 1-6, finished the season 9-8, went 12-5 or 13-4, whatever you want to officially say it was last year. Okay. So let's see. So they lost two more games the remainder of the season. They went 8-2 down that stretch. They lost officially 5 games last season, right? So that's 7 that they've lost since Sheila Ford Hamp came down, and they lost 2 this season. That's 9. So since a 1-6 start in the second year of the tenure of Dan Campbell, we've lost 9 games. 9. So it's more difficult for you in the national media to understand the arc of this football team, to understand the arc of this franchise. It's more difficult not just for the national media, but your opponents at large, your divisional opponents, the guy that used to play for you who's running around sowing seeds of discord around the NFL about a player who has the most interceptions since he entered the league, who is the league leader in interceptions this season with 9, who goes, well, that was a clean hit, but you dirty AF. It's you wanna call him a good player. You want to say I've never seen a person congratulate a person only so that they could call him dirty. Like he runs down there and calls him, he says it was clean, but you're dirty. What is that? We've got Vikings fans making up stuff about how they were treated in Detroit. We got Packers fans making up stuff about how they were treated in Detroit. It's funny to me that no one ever had any of these opinions about the Detroit Lions when we were losing. The men in the stands were not born in a barn. I would submit that while you were losing, a male fan would probably be more inclined to do the things that you accuse him to do while losing, because you ain't watching nothing on the field. You're not watching anything on the field. The product on the field is trash. You are walking around with a paper bag on your head. And if you've got a paper bag on, you can't be identified. Right? So wouldn't you think that someone would be more classless and out of the frustration of losing and the fact that they're hidden by a paper bag? They can't, their face can't be identified. Don't you think it would make more sense at that point? Now we're winning. We're 15-2. We're the number one seed in the first time in franchise history. And now we want to assault female fans in the stands. I mean, it is what it is. If that's what you think. If that's what helps you sleep at night. I don't know. But it is the easy thing. It is the easy thing for people to just go out of their way to say, hey, same old Lions, same old Lions, same old Lions. We even have fans that do that. But I mean, at 15-2 as the number one seed, regardless of what happens, do I think they'll win the Super Bowl? Yes. Because the divisional must go through Detroit. And the NFC Championship must go through Detroit. All right? And once you're in the dance, we know what Dan Campbell's going to do. We know what Ben Johnson's going to do. We know what AG's going to do. We know what these players are going to do. That's not a team I don't think anybody wants to play. Even somebody like the Bills. So it's so much easier for you just not to respect your opponent. I mean, I respect my opponent till I'm blue in the face. Y'all know me. Every time we talk about our divisional opponents, even if it's the freaking Chicago Bears who won 5 games, for goodness sakes. Even if it's the freaking what's the Packers. Sorry, I forgot their name for a minute. They're so insignificant. Even if it's the Packers, who went 1-5 in the division, just like the Chicago Bears, after claiming that they run the North and it's always theirs. I give them the respect. I hardly ever predict BTA unless you're somebody like the Titans. And even then, when you play the Titans and you play the Jaguars, I'm like, it is a trap game. So you got to be careful. But what we found out is that this team does not succumb to the trap of the game, because Dan Campbell has them firing on all cylinders at all times. So you can put a 4-win team, a 3-win team, whatever, at the time, a 1-win team in front of us, and they're going to get 52 hung on them, while they only score 6 to 14 points. Because we don't play down to competition, we go out there and do what the hell we're supposed to do. Okay? And before, because I don't want to make this a whole entire topic on its own. I don't think it needs a whole entire topic. And then I'm going to get to your comments. But I want Kelly Stafford was on her podcast. Kelly Stafford was on her podcast. I didn't watch it. I just saw the graphic. So she was on her podcast, and they asked her if she would come to Ford Field, if she would be present at Ford Field, if the Rams had were to beat the Vikings and had to travel to Detroit next week. And she said, I mean, I don't want to, but probably. You keep talking about the Detroit Lions. You keep talking about the city of Detroit, and you're mad talking about we booed your kids and everything. I have a solution. Kelly Stafford.
Or, here's another idea that's going to be very controversial. You could shut the fuck up.
I mean, that's what I have for Kelly Stafford. You could do that. It's on the table. It's an option. It's an option. Salty Pork Chop says, booed him. Kids. Paul Thomas says, Mr. Donovan P. All right, let me get to, because I know I missed a lot of your comments. So Motor City Maniac says, everyone hating on us. Lions are feeding and everyone else is bleeding. Deal with it, folks. Brent DeWitt, shout out. We're America's team now, says Motor City Maniac, for sure. TaylorMade says the Chiefs didn't short their fans, though. They sat everybody in Denver. 100%. What up, though? Here we go again with all the hate. That's right, Big Wolf Status is all day, every day. George McCaskey, the Bears owner. He's part of the ownership, right? The GM is Ryan Poles. Big Wolf Status says, I'm so sick and tired of hearing about Sam Darnold missing people. What? Right, like we didn't have anything to do with that. Oh, and did y'all hear what Kelly? Yeah, I said just that one. That's kind of the point, Chef. Who watches Nick Wright? I mean, people watch him. A lot of people hate watch him, but I don't. But kind of world we live in. I would submit. Yes, exactly. That's my phrase. Just like Neil Rules, I was told I would submit is my thing. So I should get it. I should get that put on a shirt. Jefferson keeps saying he was being held. Yeah, I mean, it's football. We get away with what we can get away with. Just like, wide receivers push off. Amik tried to sell one. I didn't see a whole lot. He tried to sell one. Ultimately, he didn't get the call. Britt DeWitt says, yep, SOL, we just keep winning. Oh, SOL in a minute, right? In a few years, is going to be, same old Lions. We just win. That's it, Ain't going to be nothing brand new about it anymore. Phil says it wasn't so much the Vikings playing poorly. The Lions are that good. 100%, Phil. Once again, our Lions took the soul of a complete organization, left them dazed and confused. Yes, sir. Colin and Nick had the Colts and Bears beating us twice. That's so laughable. I get what people saw on paper with the Bears, but Kelly should sit in a box, not in the stands. She's got the money, right? She's got the money. But so here's the thing. When people seek attention, they have to be amongst the people they're seeking attention from. You can't be amongst the public in the box. So if you have the means to sit in the box and be separated from everyone, then you can't go on your podcast the next day after the loss and say that people booed your children, because you can't even hear the people because you're in a box. So Kelly knows what she's doing. Brent DeWitt says the depth that Brad and MCDC have built is shining through at the perfect time. 100%. Well, geez, Lions didn't win on the last play of the game. We kicked their asses. I guess we were supposed to win on the last play of the game, and then maybe we would have got some props. I don't know. People also watch Joy Taylor as well, but for different reasons. Nick Wright is the new Skip Bayless. I'm picking up what you're putting down, Salty Pork Chops. They say the Jets are talking to Ben Johnson for coach and Chris Spielman for GM. So the Ben Johnson is confirmed to be interviewing with 4 franchises this weekend. Saturday and Sunday. So he will be interviewing with the Las Vegas Raiders, the New England Patriots, the Chicago Bears, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like I've given you guys my opinions on all of these things, and I did say, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that I believe that Ben Johnson would only be considering the Raiders. And the reason I say the Raiders is because it would be the Patriots, but I don't think the Patriots are actually considering him, because all reports is that the Patriots are going after Mike Vrabel pretty hard. They're going to offer Mike Vrabel the job, and he'll most likely take it because he's a former Patriot and he can swoop in and return the franchise to its former glory. With the Bears, not the Bears, but the Raiders, the only reason that I believe that he would be interested in the Raiders is because Tom Brady is involved. Tom Brady is going to be involved in the interview, right? Tom Brady, the Patriot way was the Brady way. Tom Brady also apparently is rumored to have reached out to Bill Belichick to reconsider the North Carolina job. So Tom Brady wanted to bring Bill Belichick to the Raiders. So Tom Brady understands what an organization is supposed to look like and how it's supposed to function. And that is why Ben Johnson would consider the Raiders seriously. So out of that whole group of four, the Patriots have their coach already. All of this other stuff is just pomp and circumstance, and I'd be very, very, very surprised. If you're a betting person, the odds are probably very poor for anyone other than Mike Vrabel to get the head coaching position in New England. The Bears are a mess. The Bears are what Detroit used to be. The Bears are SOL, okay? But now they're SOBs. Ha ha! And the Jaguars, you know, I've said this about this. But if you ask me, do I believe that Ben Johnson is seriously considering going to the Bears? I would submit that you should say,
hell to the no, to the no, 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 hell no, no, to the no, no, hell to the no, no, to the no, 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 hell to the no, no, to the no, no, no.
All right, that's what that's my opinion on this. Is Ben Johnson really going to go to the Bears? All right. Salty Pork Shop says $20 that Ben Johnson goes to Jacksonville. I mean, if you would just like to send me the $20, you can send it to my Cash App. Or my Venmo. So what up, though, Tactical Sport? Sonowski comes in and says, hashtag boo them kids. Boo them vehemently and vigorously with all the might and fiber that you got in your being. Paul Thomas says, yes, Kelly Stafford has the money. She did a good job chasing players. Nice work. I feel you. Also, did you share the stream? Yes, Tactical Sport, I did. Appreciate the reminder, my guy. $20. Yeah, I read that one. So Ben Johnson to the Raiders, not a chance. Davis is a moron beyond belief. But I think you're reporting, you're going to have access to Tom Brady. And with Tom Brady being an owner of the Raiders, part of their ownership group, he can talk to Mark Davis and be like, Mark, listen to me. I have 7 chips. Okay? He's going to look at Mark Davis and go, look at me. I am the captain now. Okay? So I think Mark Davis would go, I've never won anything, and this guy's won 7, so let's listen to what he has to say. And I think that's the reason why he accepted his money to come in as a minority owner. going to be an interesting offseason after we get ravaged because we have the best organization in the NFL now. I know this is a very popular opinion around Detroit, and this may be wishful thinking. I don't know. But I really believe that Ben Johnson, the way that I've mapped this thing out, okay, the way that my bank account is set up, I got to check in the savings. If you know, you know. Use the hashtag. The way that I've mapped this thing out, eliminating everyone except for the Raiders. And I don't know that he really wants to go to the Raiders, because here's the thing, and don't undersell this. The Raiders don't have a quarterback. Also, the Raiders did themselves a disservice by winning the amount of, what did they win? 2-3 games down the stretch. So the Raiders, I think, are either number 5 or out of the top 5 altogether for picking in this draft. And the 2 consensus quarterbacks, 1 and 2, whatever order you believe that they're in, are Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. The Raiders will not get the ability to pick either one of them unless they trade up. Okay? Ben Johnson is not excited about working with either of Gardner Minshew, Aidan O'Connell, or Desmond Ridder. So who would you bring in? And this would be funny. This would be so funny. But it will never happen, because Aaron Rodgers is not going to allow himself to be managed at all by Tom Brady, because his ego is too big. Tom Brady wouldn't sign off on Aaron Rodgers, because Tom Brady knows that if you're a serious general manager, a serious owner of anything, you're not looking at Aaron Rodgers. But wouldn't it be so funny if Aaron Rodgers and his package deal, Devontae Adams, went back to the Raiders? That would be funny, right? But there's no quarterback in Las Vegas, and there's no clear path to getting one of the better ones unless you're trading the franchise away to move up a couple spots. And then now you're also handicapping Ben Johnson, because you had to make that move to get even more talent. You know, I know we could Brock Bowers, yeah. So Ben Johnson could do wonders with Brock Bowers and a capable quarterback. But how are you filling out the defense? How are you filling out the other? I mean, Jacoby Myers, shout out to Jacoby Myers, having a fantastic season, the best season in his career. But you're going into the season with Amir Abdullah as your running back. Shout out Amir. You know what I'm saying? Former Lion. You going into the season with him as your main running back. And Jacoby Myers is your number one, your number one wide receiver. And then, of course, you've got Brock Bowers, who's a generational talent. I think next year people are going to be taking away Brock Bowers. I think you're going to see the type of coverage, you know what I mean? The bracket coverage, all of these things. It's a phone. Yes, it's just ringing wildly. No one knows where it is. All right, let me get to some of this chat. This chat is going crazy, man. I appreciate all you guys do. I appreciate you coming through and just, man, the chat is buzzing, bro. The chat is buzzing. It buzzes in a way that it has never buzzed before. Okay, and if you know, you know. You can use the hashtag. So let's see. TaylorMade says, if Tom Brady is talking about Belichick, it must be come and get some of this Davis family cash, period. Hey, but, they've worked pretty well together before. I mean, they did get 6 rings together. So, I mean, mark my words, Salty Pork Chops, Mark Brunell is going to have a lot to do with Ben Johnson going to Jacksonville. Shad Khan will fire Balky and replace with Ray Agnew. Mark my words. Now, that would be the most intriguing part about it. If he does fire Balky, because right now the situation is very, very dysfunctional because Balky is there and Shad Khan has said the next head coach will not report to Balky. He will report to me, which is very dysfunctional, just right off the bat. It's not function. That's not how an organization is supposed to function. If you don't like the GM, you don't trust him to hire the coach or to manage the coach, because he generally manages things, right? If you don't trust him to do his job, fire him. Don't keep him there, because now it becomes like a power struggle with a guy who's been stripped of all his power, running around doing little things to try to get some sort of power back, and it doesn't make any sense. This is why I ruled out Jacksonville in the beginning. I think Salty heard me say that. That's why he said that Balky will be fired. To the no, to the hell, to the no. All right. True access to Brady, says Paul Thomas. Ronin 99, what up, though, my guy? He says, I can see Ben going to the Raiders. Brady loves our offense. And that's another thing that I forgot about it. Brady loves the offense. Brady wants to play for Ben Johnson, right? If Brady's like, man, I might come out of retirement, play for some Ben Johnson. And, they don't have a quarterback. Now, the only thing, again, it's not going to be all Tom Brady. But what if Tom Brady is Michael Jordan? What if he's the greatest quarterback of all time and can't identify a quarterback to save his life? Of course, you can identify the people that are already doing it, the people that you've played against. Tom Brady's played against Jared Goff. He's played against all the quarterbacks in the league right now, except for like the rookies and the second, third year men. Okay, he's played against everybody. So if Ben signed, they would trade for Hooker. I guess that's where you go with that. Harpazzo says, I just got here. I heard Ben Johnson could go to the Jags. Has anybody heard that? Yeah, that's what we're discussing. We're discussing where he'll go. I think it would be the Raiders out of the list of 4. Salty Pork Chops thinks it'll be the Jags. Hooker is mid. No one is trading for Hooker. So, see, Salty Pork Chops, that's where you would be wrong, because we're saying if Ben Johnson goes to the Raiders, my thing is he has no path to a quarterback. If he's been working with Hendon Hooker for 2 years, he knows what Hendon Hooker can do. So obviously if he traded for him, it would be a vote of confidence for Hooker, and he would be excited to continue his work with him. That would be the only reason. But Ben could build an offense around Hooker. No, but the Raiders may trade for Sam Darnold or Kirk Cousins. You're not trading for Kirk Cousins. If they brought Ben Johnson over, that would be Kirk Cousins just got benched for a rookie. And I know it was due to his injury. But again, if you trade for him, you're not 100% sure that he's the same. I mean, you have to go look at, like I said, shout out Bootleg. I think it was Bootleg Football. Go look at their podcast and how they broke down the offense under Kirk Cousins and how things were, like the percentages of how they ran snaps, what positions or formations they were in, what he did when he was in the pistol, the shotgun, how much he was in the pistol and why. And it was all tied into, even the direction in which they handed off the ball or how he rolled out. It was all tied into his Achilles injury. So I don't know what that's going to do. So that's why the Falcons offense was so predictable, because once you look at those things and you're like, okay, he's trying to protect that leg. Let's just attack the other side. You know? So I don't think anybody would trade for Kirk Cousins after this season. A package deal of Ben and Hooker could be appealing to the Raiders. Ben is staying. Aaron is gone. I believe that to be the case as well. Not sure when Ben Johnson goes, but I know for sure he's not going to Chicago. As far as Aaron Rodgers, all of this couldn't have happened to a better QB. It couldn't have happened to a better human at all. Like a more deserving human. Okay. Skull God, if you would permit me, I would just like to give you a message.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Okay. All right. That's all I have for Skull God. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Skull God. Hey, but you got a shout out. And I appreciate this, the sub, Skull God. Shout out to you for coming and showing your face. You didn't show your face the day after the beatdown. Okay? You didn't show your face the day after, but I appreciate you showing your face. Skull God, if you are still here, can you answer me a question? I just want to know, were you in Ford Field? Were you in Ford Field with when that happened? Did you believe the fans, the female fans, saying that they were treated like pieces of meat by all of the Detroit Lions male fans who had never seen a woman before? Is that what you experienced? So my final word to Nick Wright is this. Forgive me. They let your boy get a soundboard. This is my final word to Nick Wright.
Do you suffer from a lack of a father figure? Do you have clinical depression? Have you ever accidentally broken your mom's favorite coffee cup, and when she found out you did it, she tied you to a bed and spanked you with a metal spatula? If you said yes to any of these things, I don't care. And to keep it a bean, no one cares.
Okay, that's it. That's my final message to Nick Wright. There's a very interesting stat that I heard. Shout out to the heavies for sharing this stat. Let me pull it up on my phone. It'll be easier. But this also goes against what Nick Wright was saying about the defense of the Detroit Lions. Listen, you can't put what you put on tape. Aaron Glenn can't put what he put on tape a few days ago and then come out next week and do the same thing against the same opponent. That's just not how football works. And when I was talking about Brian Flores and how he changed up his approach, he realized every time, 3 times prior, he came out trying to do the same thing, and he was met with zero success. Brian Flores, if you haven't heard, if you didn't know, is 0-4 against the Detroit Lions. He's had 4 cracks at Jared Goff as a Detroit as a Minnesota Viking, and he is he's over. Right? So, all right, let me see if I can find the stat. So basically, the stat is that the Detroit Lions oh, snap. Okay, here's another one. The Detroit Lions did not allow a touchdown in 4 games this season. That's the most in the NFL. This ties for the 4th most games without a TD allowed in franchise history and is Detroit's most in a season since 1983. That was 1. Okay? All right, here's the stat that I was looking for. When teams have thrown passes in the end zone against the Detroit Lions this year, they are 7 of 52. They've completed 7 passes to the end zone. Okay? They're 7 of 52, which is 13.5%, for 71 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions for a 39.6 quarterback rating. Okay? This marks the most interceptions, the lowest completion percentage, and the lowest passer rating by any NFL team ever. Not this, ever. Okay? Ever. People, are you with me? This has never happened in the history. What is it? What has it been? 105 years or something like that? In the history of the entire NFL. So when Nick Wright says they can't deploy, and I know I said that was my final word to Nick Wright, but it just, the more that you talk about it, the more ridiculous it gets. When Nick Wright says that they can't deploy this defensive strategy against great quarterbacks, okay, the only point he has is our defensive strategy, whatever it was, didn't work against the best quarterback that we played all season, which was Josh Allen. But Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are freaks of nature. This is why, if you poll Lions fans, if I put a poll in it now, unless somebody was just trolling me, if I put a poll in this chat right now and said, would you rather face Patrick Mahomes or one of Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen in the Super Bowl, I think a resounding amount of people, okay, and I would say 100% of the people would say I'd rather face Patrick Mahomes. And it's not because Patrick Mahomes is worse than them or whatever. It's that Patrick Mahomes is mobile less than they are. Right? I think you can take away Patrick Mahomes' legs with your scheme. We know you can't do it to Josh Allen. And unless he's going to, take the clock back to 2019, but Lamar's not the same quarterback. He's better. He's more improved as a passer, more efficient. So now he's more dangerous, and he's probably going to win his 3rd MVP, right? Those two pose different types of threats than Patrick Mahomes. And also, yes, Jared Goff is 2-0 against Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes has never beat Jared Goff. So Jared Goff to Patrick Mahomes sounds a bit like
5-on-5 game, he good. 1-on-1, I'm undefeated, never lost.
That's what it sounds like when we say this. I'm going to go ahead and add that to my favorites because I think I'll be using that again. Boy, that'll give you boy a soundboard. All right, let me see some of your comments. I don't know. Do y'all like the sounds? Is it entertaining? I'm entertained by the sounds. It's very entertaining to me. So let's see. Those are my last words to Nick, Colin, and Skip. Phil says, great sound, chef, like a kid with a new toy. It is a new toy. It is my new toy. Y'all thought I was done with the champ is here. No. I wasn't finished. I got so many more. As far as the Vikings go, Tactical Spork says, I think their defense has been solved and they won't be back to Ford Field this year. I feel like the Lions have solved their defense. And they solved it last year, and they solved it in week 5, and they solved it in week 18. But even though it's on tape, it's hard to replicate that because you don't have Jared Goff, right? You don't have Jared Goff. And also, there were a lot of teams that were in the Vikings' way that simply choked. It didn't have anything to do with the defense. I keep saying the Arizona Cardinals kicker caught a case of the Moody's. Had he not caught a case of the Moody's, the Arizona Cardinals probably win that game. Right? Jordan Love is a Packer. That's the only thing that we can say. Jordan Love is a Packer. And 1 second. I gotta clear a little bit of space. My recording stopped. Jordan Love is a Packer. And what I mean by that is you can't trust him. Right? You can't trust a Packer. So because of this, when we look at him not performing against the Vikings on 2 consecutive occasions, that was what that was. There were other teams that could have beat the Vikings. I mean, Geno Smith could have orchestrated a comeback win against the Minnesota Vikings, but what had happened was he looked like Jordan Love in the playoffs when he was playing against the San Francisco 49ers. Jordan Love actually had more time than him, but Geno Smith had ample time to, I think they just needed to get in the field goal range, right? Or did they need to score a touchdown? I don't remember. I feel like the Vikings beat them by 1. But either way, Geno Smith had a little bit more time. He was rushing. I think there was miscommunication on the route between DK Metcalf and Geno Smith, probably. But, he throws that pick, forcing the ball into double coverage, which he shouldn't have done. So there were opportunities for the Vikings to be beaten, but I think the solving really happened. This is a long answer to your comment, but I think the solving really happened on the part of the Detroit Lions having Ben Johnson, who was fired in Miami. I guess that's a little bit salacious, right? He wasn't fired. He was let go as part of Brian Flores bringing in his own coaching staff, right? But it sounds better when you say Brian Flores fired Ben Johnson, which is why Brian Flores has not beat Ben Johnson as a coordinator, because Ben Johnson won't forget that, and he won't, right? So having Ben Johnson and Jared Goff, I think, is the answer to the riddle or the problem or the equation that is the Minnesota Vikings defense. So that's called making adjustments for sure. He was good against all the bad teams they were facing. The Vikings, yeah. Chiefs are 0-2 against the Lions too, 100%. Lions have been breaking records all year. Facts. Jared Goff is 2-0 his career. Yeah, we saw that. All right. I don't care who we face in the Super Bowl. It ain't going to matter. You right. But I don't want to see Lamar Jackson for sure. Josh Allen, again, as I was saying, the game plan that they had against us, the Bills offense, a lot of misdirection, a lot of trying to stretch us thin. I don't think with Anzo that's available as much. And if they did it again, it would be some sort of variation of that. They can't just line up and do the same thing because we've seen it. It's on tape. We have the evidence. If our secondary consists of a 4-2-5 look with Amik and Terrion out wide, with Branch in the slot, with Iffy in the box, and Kirby single high, we can stop anybody. And we do. We do deploy that at times. So, again, people don't understand the makeup of this team. They don't understand that Aaron Glenn is also he's entered into wizard territory. So the way that he deploys these chess pieces that he has, no, a lot of people can't do that. Pat Mahomes has won 3 Super Bowls. I don't see any other walking around like that. Well, TaylorMade, I'm talking about matchups. I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes is a worse quarterback. I'm talking about matchups. Okay? We match up better against Patrick Mahomes than we do against Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. We just match up better. That's all. But Stafford can read defenses too. Oh, you're talking about the solving. Yeah, I mean, I really do think the Rams beat the Vikings. You know what I'm saying? And while the Rams were a bad team, they beat the Vikings. While the Rams were a team that the Vikings should have beaten, they beat the Vikings. The team's better, but they're very, very Puka dependent. So we'll see if Matthew Stafford has the opportunity to get the ball to Puka, if they do some different type of coverage than they did last time on Puka. If they treat Puka like a lot of teams treat JJ, it may be a different game. You know, the Vikings are decent against the run as well. So they're going to look at the tape from the last game. They're going to expect some wrinkles. Kevin O'Connell is a Sean McVay disciple. So, I mean, it should be a good game. It's the playoffs. Like I said, there is no home field advantage in LA. So, I don't know, man. You know, I don't really care too much about the Vikings. I would like for their fans to just have to sit in it and stew for the entire offseason, right? Where they feel like if they had another crack at the Lions, they would have beat us. And if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. Okay? I want them to have to stew over that for the entire offseason and telling themselves that they would have beaten us and they would have gone to at least the NFC Championship game if they had another crack at it. But they couldn't get past the Rams. So, you know, all the whining and crying doesn't make sense. You know, for really, I felt like that locker room celebration that the Vikings had when they went 14-2, it just gave off the type of vibes that were kind of like, so excited. You know what I mean? Like, they're just so excited. Like, the job wasn't done. The regular season wasn't even done. And to have that type of celebration in your locker room after you didn't lock up the first seed, you didn't lock up the North, what was the celebration for? Right? Like, you see the Lions in the locker room after the game and it's, oh, that was a great win. We got to go win next week. Like, I give you your flowers. We talk to the team. We break you down. This is what you did. Here's your game balls. Now we got to get back to work. The job is not finished. And for them to have all of the liquid in that celebration, like, it's like when you win a World Series or you win a championship in basketball and everyone's popping champagne. It really looked like that type of celebration. And I asked, what was it for? You know, so if you're mentally, height challenged, you know what I'm trying to say. As a franchise, I don't know what you can do in the playoffs. You know, I don't know if you're built for that. Maybe that's the reason why the Vikings are generally one and done. They could have a great season and then lose in the wild card. They've done it. They lost to the Giants with Danny Dimes a couple of years ago. I heard somebody say the other day that they lost to Danny Dimes. Now they're losing with Danny Dimes. So it's a full circle moment for the Vikings. All right. Let's see what this is. What up, though, Mr. Morale? Nobody believes in us. I think that's perfect for this Lions team. I mean, that, the question, I think, in the title of the show is, how can the Lions shut the national media up. The only way that we possibly can shut the national media up is by winning the Super Bowl. Now, don't let us have to play the Ravens or the Bills in the Super Bowl, because then you're going to have the Nick Wrights trying to invalidate the Detroit Lions Super Bowl win because they didn't beat Patrick Mahomes. Right? They had to rely on somebody else to take Patrick Mahomes out for them. They didn't really beat the defending champions, as if that's a thing that matters when you win a Super Bowl. Right? But again, if the Detroit Lions win the Super Bowl, then we can just sit back as they talk and just go, you had the opportunity, you're just talking, but address us as Super Bowl champions. Kiss the rings. They're going to try. I'm telling you, 100%. They are going to try. And it's only going to happen with the team like the Detroit Lions. You're going to try to discredit, but you can't discredit a champion that won it. Like, now, us as fans, if there was like a COVID bubble for the Detroit Lions and we won the Super Bowl when no one else wanted to play it, and other people would be putting asterisks on it, and I would accept that there was an asterisk on it if I wasn't a Lions fan, right? As a Lions fan, I'd be like, no, there's no asterisk. That's just fans of teams that do things like that. They don't accept the asterisk that you put on it. What did Ben Johnson coach in Miami? I believe he coached tight ends. I'm not saying the Lions are lucky. Many also played a third place schedule this season. Yes. So they weren't playing the caliber of teams that we were playing. We were playing what's called a first place schedule. So Rams are not used to performing under high pressure stakes, hence the mistakes. I'll take that. We got another Vikings fan in the chat. It says Detroit Kitties overrated, soft frauds, no championships anytime soon. The last time I checked, the Vikings have the same amount of Lombardis in their trophy case as us. As I said, and I said this after we put BTA, y'all better hope that the Detroit Lions do not win a Super Bowl before you, Minnesota Vikings fans, because then you will be the only team in the NFC North without a trophy in your case. And all of those, at least we've been to the Super Bowl, at least we've been close, at least we've been in the dance, it won't matter, because at least we have the trophy and we'll be the defending champs, and you can address us as such. I just, for all of the haters, not even for my own personal benefit and the way that it would make me feel, I just want the Detroit Lions to win, right, the Super Bowl, just so the haters can continue talking. They can continue talking, making themselves sound silly, making themselves look silly.
Or, here's another idea that's going to be very controversial. You could shut the fuck up.
Or that. You know what I mean? All right, let me get to these comments. Let's see. If chef is the chef, we are the staff. Let's get it. I want a staff t-shirt and hat. All right, I'm gonna have to get some. I'm gonna have to get some merch stuff going. That'll probably be later. You know what I mean? But if y'all want to support with some merch, I can arrange that pretty quickly. Rams Vikes. If I bet, I would take the under. I think there are 2 upsets this weekend. Listen, don't call me crazy, but you could call me crazy. But don't count the Broncos out. I'm going to have Derek, you guys know him as Lion Syndicate. I'm going to have him on the show on Friday. And we're going to talk about what we think is going to happen in the first round of the playoffs and things of this nature. That's going to be the main topic because, you're going into the weekend. You're going to watch the games, even though the Lions aren't going to be playing. It's going to be important for the Lions so we know who our opponents are going to be. The crazy thing is if our opponent comes from the Vikings-Rams game, they're going to be playing on a short week. Just wild. I don't know why that's a Monday night thing. Just play the games on Saturday and Sunday. How long have you been playing with the soundboard? A couple of days, man. I found it because I wanted. So here's the evolution of the soundboard. I was searching for an MP3 of The Champ Is Here, and when I searched it, then I found this app, which was a full-on soundboard, and I was like, I'm sold. Install it. I'm good. And I was off from there. So what was that? Victory Monday that I did that? So yeah, since Monday. Kane Presset had blocked a dude number yesterday because he was snoring on the phone. What? Detroit versus the Commanders, says 313 Thug Boss. Check it. I mean, it could happen. With Jaden Daniels being a rookie quarterback and Washington not being great on defense, I think that would be a bit of a cakewalk for us. I think I'm wholly confident that AG could scheme up something that's going to stop this rookie quarterback from going off on us. Phil, I often do revert into the Bill Cosby. Sometimes, kids say the darndest things and the blah, blah, blah. I do that sometimes. Sometimes when I get excited, right? I turn into Bill. I don't turn into Bill Cosby. I don't allegedly slip things in people's. I don't do none of that. But it's just the voice sounds a bit like Bill Cosby. Phil says first time. The Curb Your Enthusiasm song. All right, I'm going to check that out. The whole song or just parts of it? First time I saw Chef, he was arguing with Edham. There you go, Phil. You're an OG. You are an OG. Yes, tactical sport. And that's the thing. Take your medicine because you just sound bitter. You sound bitter and you sound corny and you sound insane. The Packers did the same thing. The players, both times, the better team didn't. No, the better team won twice. 2 times. You had 2 times where you could claim, I would submit, that you had 2 opportunities to lay your claim to be the better team, and you failed both times. After those 2 times, you could shut the F up. Sanowski, you thought who was beefing? Me and Adam? Yes. I absolutely despise him as a human being. No cap. Right? He's a person that if he was on fire and I was walking by drinking a big gulp from 7-Eleven, and I really had to pee, I would stand by him and pee in the opposite direction just so I wouldn't put him out. Oh, no. Oh, Sanowski thought me and Derek were beefing. Okay, so Sanowski, that's an interesting story that really had nothing to do with me, and it had to do with the other guy. I just caught a stray, and Derek apologized to me for it, and we've been friends ever since. Every show I watched today, it was more about how bad Darnold was, and every compliment they gave Detroit was a backhand compliment. They can't just give it to us straight. Pause. Right? They can't just straight up be like, man, Detroit did a fantastic job. The reason that Darnold was bad was because of Detroit. You know what I mean? It wasn't like there was no pressure on him and there was nothing going on and he just was missing everybody. It wasn't like he had 5 seconds to throw and he just couldn't complete a pass. Because if that was the case, then yeah, we couldn't really say anything. He'd be like, bro, we didn't affect him at all. He was standing back there, playing patty cake, baker's man. And he just couldn't throw a ball. Like he couldn't hit, the side of an ocean. The side of, what was it? The side of the ocean from a boat or something like that. Something like, you know what I mean. Oh, for sure. Yes. I had meant to do that and then I got sidetracked. Man, I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate y'all. So go ahead if you guys, because there's a lot of people in here. If you use Discord, go ahead and join the Discord. If you don't use Discord, start using it. Because we're just trying to get the community going, have things that we can talk about offline. We got 3 chat rooms right now. It's the Lions chat, which is just the general chat. Put your memes in there, put your videos in there, whatever the case may be. Talk about whatever y'all want to talk about. Then we have the mailbag questions. Let me check the mailbag questions right now, just in case I have some and I didn't look at them. All right, no, I don't. Okay, but we got the show topics, which again is going to be helpful in the off season, especially. I'm gonna keep saying it. I am not a college football guy. You're gonna have to give me names of people that I should look at, and I'll look at their tape and be like, oh yeah, that would be a good fit for the Lions, or nah, please don't draft this guy. Sanowski said, but damn, yeah. Which fan base are the most annoying to you, Kane Press? Shoot, that's a good question, man. The most annoying would have to be the Vikings. I feel like, the Packers, I can kind of understand their elitism. The Vikings, I can't, because the Vikings are in the exact same situation as the Detroit Lions. Your team's Super Bowl, your team's trophy case is empty. It's empty. It has no trophies in it. Okay, you went to a Super Bowl. When did you go to the Super Bowl? Was it the 70s? Right? You had a team that had Chris Carter and Randy Moss and Randall Cunningham, and y'all did nothing with that. Yes, we had a team that had Barry and Herman Moore and Brett Perryman, Johnny Morton, all those guys. We also didn't do anything with it. We went to an NFC Championship game. We got shellacked by Washington. Washington went on to win the Super Bowl easily. We had Calvin Johnson and Ndamukong Suh and them boys, and Matthew Stafford threw the game away in Dallas. We also didn't do anything. That's cool, 100%. I'm not going to argue with you, but we did nothing, just as you have done nothing. Ask the Bills about going to the Super Bowl and having an empty trophy case. They did it 4 times in a row, back to back, with nothing to show for. Ask the Buffalo Bills if they would have traded 3 of those trips just for 1 win. I promise you they would have. So I'm going to say it's the Minnesota Vikings who are the most annoying fan base. David Lyons, Derek sat with me, at the game? Yeah. No, he's cool, bro. He's cool. Some people are not, but he's cool. As they say, Darnold was seeing ghosts. He clearly was seeing ghosts in the second half because he was, and I was like, "What? Oh, he's seeing ghosts. That's who he's throwing to." Because he was in the second half, like in the fourth quarter, my man was shook. He wasn't hitting nothing. So I was like, all of a sudden, JJ grew 2 feet and he was sailing balls over his head. It was wild. Chiefs easy 3-peat 2025 champions. Another easy Super Bowl, no competition whatsoever. So here's how you know that we've made it as a fan base. Right? I don't have a whole lot of subscribers. But these fans of Chiefs and Vikings are finding me. None of my keywords, none of my tags, nothing has anything to do with the Chiefs and the Vikings. Right? I'm not going to no Chiefs podcast to say nothing. Okay? Got a Chiefs fan reaching out to me. Maybe because I talked about Nick Wright. Maybe his ears perked up and he was like, Nick Wright sent you to
finish him.
I guess. But it's not going to work. But I appreciate you, man. I appreciate the sub. I hope you stay subbed. Okay? If you're new and you're talking, I know you sub because you can't talk unless you sub. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate the subs, man. 100%. You Vikings fans, you Bears fans, you Packers fans, you Chiefs fans of any team in the NFL. I appreciate the subs, bro. Keep it up and share the stream and let everybody know that the Motor City Cats are back at it. And we came to give you stats, not static. I'm not signing off. Don't worry. Okay. I wouldn't do y'all like that. I would tell you first. So Phil says the Vikings were my second favorite team other than the Lions. They let me down more. That's a weird mix, but I did also meet a person who was both a Chiefs and a Raiders fan. So I'm sorry, a Broncos and a Raiders fan. I didn't know how that happened, but they're so funny, professional failures. Hutchinson had PTSD flashbacks when he landed in front of Kirk. That man was like, ooh, aha. He was like, where's Kirby at? The league has invaded the Lions shots 100%. When other mofos show up, for sure. Lions swept the Vikings 2 straight. They're scared of us, bro. 100%. Like, you scared when you go to somebody else's crib and you like, I just came over here to tell you I'm not scared of you. Who are you again? Don't send for me. Don't come for me unless I send for you now. You know what I'm saying? I didn't send for none of y'all. But to the Chiefs fan that came in here and said that he didn't think that there was any, like, what'd you say? Any competition? I just have one question for you. I didn't cue that up right. Damn, I can't even find it. Oh, here it is. But I have one question for you.
You lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God.
And as far as the Minnesota Vikings fans, they have
emotional damage.
There you go. Oh man, I can't add too many more because I'd be like, I'm getting too many. So I'm like looking for stuff, but I do a good job setting it up most of the time. Why are these selfish assholes putting Ravens Steelers on Amazon Prime Ridiculous. Well, look, guys, there are some streams in the East that you can also always go to. You know, go to Google and they will direct you to these streams in the East. You might want to take out in the, okay? So anything that you can't watch, that you don't have access to, the streams in the East will help you access. The streams in the East is like a road. It's a road to victory, glory. Phil says just telling the story. Yeah, come on, Kay. Phil, cool. So Detroit Kitties overrated, soft frauds. Listen. My question to you. Or wait. No, here's the thing for you. Here's the thing. Detroit, what's his name again? Hold on. What is his name? Detroit Kitties overrated, soft frauds.
You've reached your limit on talking. Shut the fuck up.
I knew I was going to use that. I knew it. I was like, I'm going to use that one. Somebody's going to put me in a position where that needs to be used. Phil says, DJ Chef, you be rapping soon. Oh, I was spitting a little bit when I did my JMO. There we go. I remember a sound that I wanted and it slipped my mind, but no, it didn't come from there. Okay, but at least I know what it is. I know what I'm looking for, so I'll find it later. But yeah. Let's see. Jared Goff underrated versus Patrick Mahomes for sure. Never lost. The Graham. Ha, Chef, I got you. I don't care really, but I'm sick of the mob dictating this ish. Amazon getting the worst games as usual, LML. What is it? You said Ravens and who? Ravens is still, yeah. Bro, Look, I'm going to tell you what the problem is with the Steelers. And I don't know if you knew this. And it's happened for quite some time. The Steelers are bad at offense. And they have been bad at offense since Ben Roethlisberger left. They need a quarterback. They need to trade their draft capital for the next 2 years and go up and get somebody. But this ain't really the draft to go do it. Once they are literally trying to play 3 yards in a cloud of dust football, and it doesn't work. So, I mean, Russ did, he did okay. But y'all are still trying to play that style of offense, and it's ugly. It doesn't work. And Pickens is a basket case. How do you explain Lamar choking in the playoffs every time? The way that I explain it is, so the first year, I think when he was playing the Bills, wasn't that his first year in the playoffs? He was young and inexperienced. He also got concussed. The game last year was not his fault. Right? Zay Flowers fumbled on the goal line. Todd Monken called a horrible game. He only called 6 called runs. I think they were trying to have Lamar Jackson go against Patrick Mahomes passing. It's like what Kevin O'Connell was doing when he was playing us, trying to go for it on 4th down so much. And I think in like the 50 games prior, he had only gone for it on fourth down twice. And I think both of those times were against us. So Kevin O'Connell wasn't playing his game, and they tried to get Lamar Jackson not to play his game, and that was their game plan. But we know Lamar has evolved as a passer. Okay, I hope you guys have seen that. He created, what is it, the 4,900 club? He's the first quarterback ever with 4,000 plus passing yards and 900 rushing yards. You know, so he also said himself that he was too antsy in the playoffs. So we'll see. He doesn't choke in the playoffs. He chokes in the divisional. And then he went from choking in the divisional to not choking in the AFC Championship game. But I think the performance from the coaching down was collectively not okay. And again, they were driving to tie the game, and Zay Flowers fumbles. That's not Lamar's fault. Lamar had nothing to do with Zay Flowers fumbling. Lamar had nothing to do with Zay Flowers also in the red zone. Didn't he get a costly penalty of 15, a personal foul penalty or something like that? So he didn't have anything to do with those things. Facts. Pittsburgh offense is mid. Yes. It'll be interesting to see who my man Coach T starts versus the Ravens. He's going to start Russell Wilson. That's not even a question. You're not going to start you're going to try to play Lamar Jackson ball against Lamar Jackson or something? I don't know. Right, if Lamar will relax and play, he'd win. And I hope that if he gets to the Super Bowl, he is antsy and skittish and all of the things, because again, out of all three of them, that's the guy I don't want to see. I don't want to see Lamar at all. What's Lamar's record against good teams this year? I'd have to go and look at the teams. The only loss I think they have in the division. No, didn't they lose to the? I think they went 4-2 in their division. Coincidentally, they did not lose to the Bengals at all. They swept the Bengals. I don't know how they lost to Philly. To be quite honest with you, I don't know how they lost that game, because Lamar, that was the second, in 20 games, or was it 21 games, that was the second NFC team ever to beat Lamar Jackson. I thought their offense was it didn't click. Lamar Jackson is the NFL MVP, right? 2-time, back-to-back, and I think he's going to be you can't create a club as a quarterback and not get the MVP. Okay. So in the last two times that we played the Ravens, the first time was the best time. That was the time where people reached out to AG and they were like, how did you do this to Lamar? The second time, though, which was last year, AG tried to do something different, and what he tried to do different was, let's not pressure Lamar. Let's give him 10 seconds to throw the football. No, sir. That did not work at all. I see you, Mr. Morale. Posted a picture with him and Derek. So I mean, I think they'll have a plan, but as Mike Tyson says, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. And the Ravens definitely will come out punching. They'll definitely come out swinging. So I would just rather not see Lamar. You know what I mean? I'd rather not see him. Josh, we played him this this season. We lost to them, but really I attribute to the loss to two things. We didn't match their intensity, and the offense wasted the first two drives. I think you change those two things around, and the Lions beat the Bills. Now, I'm not going to say he was going to beat them easily, but I think you flip that score. If it's 48-42, it's us with the 48 and them with the 42. And again, when you see two teams combine for 90 points and they're one score apart, it's not like it was 80-10. No, it was one score apart. There wasn't much defense being played by either team. So the intensity and the two wasted drives are the things that if you change them, that game goes a different way. Mega Hustle 313 says, yep, give me Kansas City in the Super Bowl. Lions matchup better with Mahomes. See, that's what I was saying earlier. It's a matchup. We match up better with Mahomes. But again, if you give me Josh Allen, based off of the things that I said, I'm comfortable with understanding that the Lions are not going to come out lethargic in the Super Bowl. Like, if you can't get up for the Super Bowl, something's wrong, right? So they're going to match that intensity and probably have a higher level of intensity, having lost the game and needing to win the Super Bowl while proving that they can beat one of these premier players at quarterback in Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. Like, we know we can beat Patrick Mahomes. We went in their house last year and beat them first game of the season. So, more so a Lamar Jackson and a Josh Allen. Those are the people we need to prove that we can beat. So if you give us Josh Allen, I'm pretty comfortable with winning that. But if you give me Lamar Jackson, I'm scared as ish. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna sit up here and blow smoke up your butt. If you give me Lamar Jackson, I am afraid. I am mortally terrified. Okay. Bills game was mostly a coaching loss. Oh, you said Lions owe them? Yep. Bills game was mostly a coaching loss. Ben called a bad first quarter. Yeah. So without wasting the first two drives of offense and with the defense coming out attacking like the dogs that we know them to be, I think that's a totally different game. Stoke not scared. 31 or 30 other teams. I am stoked not scared. I am scared of Lamar Jackson. I'm just listen. That's a different beast. Now, I know that he can be beat. Okay? And I've seen teams, I think they lost 5 games this season. I know this. But especially a person like him, who I believe these are the other factors. I believe he's going to pick up his 3rd MVP this year. And you finally get over the hump. You finally beat Patrick Mahomes, and I don't want to say because here's the thing that I don't understand about the Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson, and so many people that think that the Bills are just gonna, if they meet in the playoffs, the Bills are just gonna dismantle the Ravens. They played each other earlier this season. The Ravens won 35-10. The dismantling was being done by the Ravens. I feel like people forget about that, right? So what I'm looking at, what up though, Justin Fan? What I'm looking at is, if somehow the Bills were able to take care of, again, the Bills had to get past the Broncos, but if some way the Bills were able to take care of the Kansas City Chiefs, and it was the Bills and the Ravens, for the AFC Championship game, I'm confident that the Ravens can beat them. So now you've finally gotten to the Super Bowl. You've gotten your third MVP. You are going to be on a different level of confidence and a different type of mission. Had this been Lamar Jackson and he was not feeling the scrutiny because he didn't have a 3-5 record in the playoffs or whatever, and he wasn't feeling this scrutiny because he didn't have as many MVPs as he has, or whatever the reason. I think the MVPs is fine. I think just a better record in the playoffs. Let's say he was 6-2 in the playoffs, right? The narrative about him not being able to win in the playoffs would be squashed. You know, like he is one loss off of 500, right? You take one of his, he's 3-5, right? You take one of his losses and turn it into a win. He's a 500 quarterback in the playoffs. That narrative, he can't get it done. Well, I mean, he gets it done every other time. You know what I mean? So it wouldn't be such a narrative. So I'm just saying all these things on top of each other, pause, make me not want to face Lamar Jackson in the Super Bowl. I just don't. Is it true that the Lions have never beaten the Chiefs in the Super Bowl? The Lions have never beaten anybody in the Super Bowl. What do you mean? That trip to Baltimore last season was one to forget. 100%. Right? The trip, the game tape, everything was one to forget. The Lions have never beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Okay. Again, we talk about matchups and confidence level, right? Listen. So I'll give you this one. The Lions are 2-0 against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Or I'm sorry, not the Lions. Jared Goff is 2-0 against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Right? We went into their house last season and beat them in game number 1. In a season in which the expectation is that we would be good. So we lived up to the expectations. Now we're in a season where the expectation is that we will win the Super Bowl. You take the confidence that we have from Jared Goff never losing to Patrick Mahomes. You take the confidence that this team has as we were able to go into their house and beat them when everyone was just celebrating them as the, Super Bowl champions. And that gives you a boost of confidence. And plus, like I said, the matchup is whatever the matchup is. We match up better against the Chiefs than we match up against the Bills and the Ravens. Do I think it'll be a blowout? No. It'll be a good game. It'll be a struggle. But I think ultimately in that situation, the Lions will come out on top. Do the Chiefs also have a championship pedigree? Yes, but they also have the pressure of trying to three-peat, which has never been done. So there are a lot of different factors when you look at who could win, who should win, and why. As John Madden used to say, 90% of the game is half mental. Whatever that means, I don't know. It sounds good. 90% of the game is half mental, so does that mean 45% of the game is mental? Is that what he's saying? I don't know. All right, guys, look, once again, if you haven't joined the Discord, please smash that link up top. It is pinned. Join the Discord, join the community. We will be able to talk offline. You guys will be able to socialize offline. We got the Lions chat. You can throw in your memes, your pictures, whatever you want to share in there. It's all good. Obviously, keep it. You know what I mean? Like certain content, you know what I mean? Just keep it out. But got that. Then you got your show topics. Like I said, the show topics is going to be something that is going to be very, very beneficial in the off season. And then you have your mailbag chat room, which if you have questions that you think of, or maybe you heard another show do a take on something and you want to get my take on it, and I'll answer the mailbag questions on air. So once we start getting more people in, once we start getting things moving a little bit more, we'll start to see, the mailbag questions, and I'll be answering them and things of this nature. So just make sure you guys go ahead, get in there. It's easy. It's just, connect your Gmail to it or whatever, and you sign up, and it's a like 2-3 step process. It's very quick, very easy. No fuss, no muss. All right, y'all. I appreciate everyone once again for coming through, hanging out. The chat was buzzing. We got some new subs in here. New fans of the show, fans of the channel, even though they're not fans of the team. So that was good to see. But we got some of this before I go. We got some What up, though, Lions fans? The breaking news is that the Motor City Cats are back at it. Came to give you stats, not static, and I can't tell you what to do, but if you want to take my advice, make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic